Welcome this morning. It's nice to have everyone here for the Four Corners Economic Development Quarterly Breakfast. My name is Tim Gibbs. I'm the CEO of Four Corners, proud to have that title. 12 weeks ago, on my second day, I was standing before many of the people in this same group. It's amazing that it's been 12 weeks already for me. I think about week 3. I went home after a long day, and I sat down in my chair, and I said, it's good to be home. And it shocked me, and it gives me cold chills. It shocked me the first time that I said that it's good to be home. So I'm happy to be here in front of you. I've met a lot of you. I've met over these 12 weeks. You get one chance to make a first impression. And I've been very, very lucky to have great people around me that's helped me in this transition and helped the organization for what we're doing and what we're going to do in the time to come. I would like to ask the board of directors of the Four Corners Economic Development to stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Terry, you might as well stay up, because the next thing is I would like our elected officials to stand up and be recognized, and for each one to introduce yourself and who you represent.
I'm Terry Fortner. I represent San Juan County, District 4.
Carol Colby, San Juan County Treasurer.
Kristen McWilliams, Farmington School Board.
Scott Axman with the City Council.
Sharon Rogers, Public Education Commission, District 5.
Stephanie Thompson, Board President, Farmington Municipal Schools.
Jim Crowley, City of Aztec, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. The purpose of having these quarterly breakfasts is bringing you timely information that will better inform you about your community, and also that you can use for your business and for your planning purposes as well. Today we are extremely lucky. It was fortuitous that this quarterly breakfast aligned with the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association conference and the energy conference that's taking place here in the San Juan County and in Farmington. My part today is to introduce John Thompson. Now, John Thompson is the newest, also I got Jason Rounds, also the newest board member to FORSED. When I got John's bio, I was just so impressed by what he's meant to this community, that he's came back to this community, that what he's given back to this community. He earned his BS in geological engineering from New Mexico Tech in 1991. He has 35 years of oil field experience. He is currently the president and engineering manager of Walsh Engineering and Production Company. It's a full-service consulting company that provides engineering, well site supervision, lease operations and pumping, regulatory and environmental compliance services, and production accounting services in the San Juan Basin. Walsh Engineering has been in business for over 50 years and currently has over 1,450 active wells in the basin. Thompson began his career as a field engineer for the Western Atlas Baker and later for Halliburton, where he worked throughout the western United States and Canada as a field engineer and a technical advisor. He joined Walsh Engineering as a partner in 1996, working as a drilling, completion, and production engineer. He is the former president of the Independent Petroleum Association of New Mexico and still serves on the board of directors. He is the president of the local chapter of the American Petroleum Institute. He recently started serving, thank you very much, on the Four Corners Economic Development Organization, and previously served 2 consecutive 6-year elected terms as the member of the Board of Trustees for the San Juan Community College in Farmington, New Mexico. Thompson currently serves as the Oil and Gas Hazards Committee for the City of Farmington Planning and Zoning Department as well. He's been married to his wife, Carrie, for 31 years. They have 2 children, Paige and Jack, who attends New Mexico State University. His interests outside of working include skiing, fly fishing, backpacking, hunting, biking, running, and coaching youth sports, in particular football, where he helps with the local and high school football teams. It's my pleasure to introduce and to bring to the microphone John Thompson.
Just to be clear, I went to New Mexico State. I couldn't get into New Mexico Tech, so go Aggies. Before I introduce our guest, Scott Bird, who's, and first of all, thank you. I'm excited to be a new board member for Four Corners Economic Development. I'm excited to be part of this group. Before I introduce Abe, our guest today, Scott, who invited me to do this, said, give a few words about the status of the industry, and then Tim made the mistake of saying, well, you got an open mic, so whatever you want to talk about. So for those of you that know me, that's a dangerous thing for me, but I'll keep it very brief. But I do think it's very interesting, the state of natural gas in the state of New Mexico and the San Juan Basin in particular. I looked this morning, the price of natural gas, non-bondad, was $1.20. Last month, it was down to 31 cents. Prices have absolutely crashed in the last 3 to 4 months, and I can't explain what's going on. It's crazy time here, and the natural gas business has always been a wild ride, but I've never quite seen anything like this. I was in Texas last week, and the big news there was that their electric grid is running at full max. They canceled all their maintenance shutdowns because they have no more capacity. And it's like, well, what's going to happen in June in Texas? So there's just a huge volume, national volume of gas that's built up that's driving prices down, but everything that is pointing towards the future is electric consumption is going out of sight with no way to meet that demand. Natural gas is going to have to factor into that. So hold on, I guess, is all I can say. But, when the prices get that low, obviously affects all of the budgets, pretty much everybody in this room. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening. Obviously, oil, which is a big deal in the southeast part of the basin, and here as well, is still holding strong. And I think the way most people do their marketing, companies are pulling back, obviously, but hopefully we can make it through this downturn. I don't think it's going to be as bad as some of the ones in the past, but it is very volatile. And I wanted to speak too on the where we are with the San Juan Basin. The dry gas Mancos development, we're on the front end of a major resource, and Krista and J. Paul here, Lagos Resources, is one of the companies that's leading the way. And I think to put it in perspective, from what some of the presentations I've seen, and J. Paul, feel free to say yay or nay, but some of the things that I've seen is that since inception, since the 20s, the volume of gas that's come out of the San Juan Basin is around 50 TCF. That's a huge number. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but a TCF of gas, 50. What's going to come out of this dry gas is at least equal to that, if not double. So it's a massive resource that's coming, and frankly already here, thanks to companies like Logos and Enduring, some of the other companies. Williams, I believe, started the initial exploration, but it's transitioning from into the true development phase, and with that's going to bring challenges of water. Is going to be a big deal. Our infrastructure, while we have a lot of infrastructure, is not quite going to be able to handle these volumes. So the major pipeline companies, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Sand, securing sand for the completions is a big deal. So there's a lot, as scary as it is price-wise here, this is going to be one of the largest developments for natural gas in the United States. And so while that's super exciting, we also have the challenges of a lot of the policies within our state of Colorado, national policies. I was talking to some guys last week that are doing a deal in Oklahoma, and they mentioned that they can get a permit in 15 days. It takes us maybe a year to 2 years to get a permit here on federal lands. So challenges abound, but We have been a resilient industry in support of the community, and so we always seem to find a way, and I'm sure we will again. So a lot of bright things for this our community. So I look forward to being part of that. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to introduce and welcome Abe. A little bit of his background. He's a native New Mexican who has dedicated his career to serving all New Mexicans. Abe grew up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, where he's a proud graduate of Robertson High School. He earned a BA in political science and a master's of public affairs degree from Highlands University. Prior to becoming the director of community engagement for the New Mexico Oil and Gas Association, Abe was the education reform director for Think New Mexico, a former educator who taught government, economics, and history at Tierra Encantada Charter School, and later chaired the governance board of that school. Additionally, has served as the ethics officer for the Secretary of State, policy director for former Lieutenant Governor John Sanchez, and as a legislative liaison and policy analyst for the Public Education Department. So we're very lucky to have Abe today, so please join me in welcoming him.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, thank you to Tim, thank you to John, and the City of Farmington for the warm welcome. We always enjoy our time here in the Four Corners, and I just want to assure you that it is NMOGA's priority moving forward to be more present in our Four Corners area and to have conversations with you all. And so thank you very much for welcoming me. I'm excited to be here today and share with you some information about NMOGA and also some great information about our industry's contributions. Many of you in here last night attended our community reception. That was a way to celebrate the San Juan Basin, but also a moment for NMOGA to engage with you all, the community, and start developing relationships. One thing that I've prided my career on is developing strong relationships, because without relationships and coalitions, there's no way we get this work done to support this great industry. So I want to start off today talking about oil and gas in New Mexico, just a few data points. We are the second largest oil producing state in America. Within the next few years, many economists are predicting that New Mexico will move to number one and overthrow Texas, which means significant funding coming into our state, but also a lot of opportunities in which we're excited about. We also are, New Mexico is 13% of all U.S. crude production, and that number is expected to continue to rise with a lot of the work that's being done in the Permian and here in the San Juan Basin. As John mentioned, the natural gas production here in the Four Corners attributes to the seventh largest in the nation, and so that number is terrific. It's great for this community, and I want to thank you all who have invested your time here in this community in creating jobs, creating opportunities, supporting our students, because that number right there just speaks volumes to the incredible work that's being done. And again, New Mexico's energy landscape, we are fortunate to be given so many resources in both our Permian Basin down in Lee and Eddy County, and also our San Juan Basin. And so this, when we think about, we always hear New Mexico's a poor state, New Mexico's a poor state. We're not a poor state. We are rich in resources, except for water, which we can talk about a little later. And I know John has talked about that, but I know our industry is committed to continuing to research and continuing to partner on how we can reuse water, and because we know it is a scarce resource. But when it comes down to our energy landscape, New Mexico is the hub for energy security right now and energy independence. And so a little about NMOGA. We are a coalition that promotes safe and environmentally responsible development of oil and gas production in New Mexico. We have around 150 member companies. If there are some of you in here who are not member companies, I'm going to throw it out there. Y'all should join NMOGA. Also, I know Jim Winchester is here. I'm sure he wouldn't mind having you as a member as well. We have around 1,200 individual members, and we get our strength from diversity, but also with strength from diversity, oftentimes we have companies who maybe don't agree on everything. And so NMOGA is committed to bringing our member companies to the table and having conversations on how we can best represent our industry. We work with elected officials, community leaders, industry experts, and the public. We advocate for responsible policy, educating public on industry, and contributing to the state revenue, in which we'll get into a little bit of those numbers here shortly. One of NMOGA's main priorities is advocacy. Advocating on behalf of the industry, advocating on behalf of our state and our economic development in the state, but also supporting our members so that they can provide the safe and reliable and secure energy supplies that are important to New Mexico and the nation. Through this advocacy, we get involved in policy and regulation on topics such like safety standards, transition to low carbon futures, and now we see a lot of conversation around water reuse. One thing that we are committed to is sharing sound data and expertise from our experts who work in the industry day in and day out. And one of the most important things is when we are advocating and we are speaking to our public officials and our regulators is that we want them to use science-based facts when they're developing policy. And as many of you know in this room, that's oftentimes not the case. And so NMOGA really pushes saying, is it science-based? Are there facts and figures? And our members contribute heavily to that, to bring the science, to bring the facts from both of our basins to say, here's what's being done. Here's what our member companies are doing. As many of you, I'm sure, watched the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if you saw this ad, but it's a terrific video, and I want you all to think about what would a world look like without oil and natural gas.
That connection was brought to you by petroleum products. But what if we lived in a world without oil and natural gas? Life would be very different because oil and gas are part of just about everything you touch. From the stuff in your hair to the stuff you wear. And so much more. Our world would be unrecognizable if the products we rely on just disappeared. Better luck next time.
How many of y'all saw that during the Super Bowl or during March Madness? Yeah, great commercial. But as you can see up here, my hair is standing up because of some petroleum byproduct. And so I couldn't imagine being standing up here with the way my hair is without hair product. But, you know, these are the conversations that we're having. And a couple of weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to speak to 9th grade students at Gadsden High School. And I know we have some school board members in here, and I'm sure we have some former educators or current educators. You know, one thing that I'm committed to, as you all heard, I became a teacher. I didn't plan to be a teacher. I wanted to be a lawyer. I think I saved a lot of money by not becoming a lawyer, and I also avoided having a lot of people mad at me for becoming a lawyer. But it was one of the greatest opportunities that ever happened to me professionally and personally. And so being able to get back in the classroom and talk to students, because, you know, oftentimes folks who are in opposition to the industry are getting into our schools. They're talking to our educators, telling them that fossil fuels are bad. But they're just telling them fossil fuels are bad. They're not telling them fossil fuels are around you every single day. They contribute to our necessities, our modern way of life, our healthcare system. Advancements in medical technology couldn't happen without oil and natural gas production. When we think about hospitals, our loved ones who are being treated with care, can we imagine a hospital that's running solely on renewable energy? If, you know, that system happens to collapse, what's the alternative? And so that's where natural gas plays an abundant role in ensuring that our hospitals remain fully functioning and not so, you know, renewables and oil and gas go hand in hand, but, you know, we shouldn't sacrifice one for the other. And when I was chatting with students, Many of them did not know about, they just heard oil and gas is bad. And and a lot of them, I asked, what have y'all learned about oil and gas? Well, y'all pollute. Y'all are terrible. And I'm like, who's telling you this? But a lot of people are saying that to our students. And so they had an eye-opening experience when they saw the video, but then when I pointed out, as we know, students love shoes. I was a big shoe fanatic, and I said, hey, you like Jordan shoes? Guess how they're made? They're made with petroleum byproduct. But if you end fossil fuels, you're not going to be able to wear those Jordans anymore. You know, we like our stretchy clothes, our stretchy pants. Well, you're not going to be able to be in comfort without that, without petroleum byproduct. And so it was great. The one that got the ladies, I remember I said, how many of y'all wear makeup in here? And all the girls raised their hand. I said, makeup's made with petroleum byproduct. You're wearing it every single day. And I saw the look in their face thinking, oh my God, I cannot live without my makeup. And I said, those are the decisions that you're making. And so it was a great moment. But this is what we need to do as folks who work in the industry, and even folks who don't work in the industry, is just to understand that it's far larger than just oil and gas production. It's a way of life. And the way we live today, the luxuries that we have, the necessities that we have, all of that is contributed to oil and gas production and petroleum byproducts. So now the fun stuff. Making New Mexico a rich state. Oil and gas contributed $13.9 billion to the state last year. That's a number that we're proud of. I know our industry is proud to support our state, but also we also don't want our state just reliant on oil and natural gas. We want to see economic development. We want to see a prosperous state that has diverse economic opportunities for not only our industry, but other industries as well, like agriculture, and business. And you know, one thing that I talk to people about, when we look back at New Mexico's history, we've missed out on Amazon. We've missed out on Microsoft. A lot of those developments happened here in New Mexico, and a lot of people, especially younger generations, don't recall that, but we've missed out on those opportunities. And so I would hate for New Mexico to continue missing out on opportunities, and I'm proud that the oil and gas industry continues to make our state rich in resources to spend on education, to spend on public health, public safety, but we also want to see that number be supported by other industries also investing in our state and our citizens. Just a couple of numbers. One thing that I always hear from folks, and I'm sure many of you in this room see this as well, is the hard work that's being done in our San Juan Basin and our Permian basins. Oftentimes that money doesn't come back. As much money as the counties produce, they oftentimes don't get that investment back. As you can see, Bernalillo County benefited from $567 million from the oil and gas industry. And a lot of times the folks who are opposed to the industry live in this community without realizing that their county is being taken care of because of the great work that the oil and gas industry is continuing to do every single day. Public education, I believe $361 million that's going to Albuquerque public schools. And I know here in Farmington, I'm sure you'd love to see that number coming back to your schools here. Unfortunately, because Albuquerque's bigger, they get a bigger chunk. But one thing that NMOGA is working to do is to have conversations with folks to appreciate the industry, saying, look, San Juan County, Lee and Eddy County, these counties are providing the financial resources for you all to be able to operate. And they're not seeing this return coming back to their counties. They're seeing it, but not at a large level like Bernalillo County. And so that's and so if there are frustrations in this room, I don't blame you. I've heard it from community members saying, wow, Bernalillo got $567 million, and Lee County got $64 million. But Lee County is the one that produced those numbers. And so I totally understand the heartburn, but this is why it's important to have conversations about what our industry is doing across the state, and also getting non-production areas to understand the importance of this industry. Just a few more facts and figures. Eddy County, $50 million. San Juan County, $104 million. And Sandoval County, $102 million. And if any of you are ever interested, we have this on our website. So if you're ever curious to go into more detail about additional funding, feel free to visit NMOGA.org, and we have more information on the funding mechanisms. And This is all courtesy to the Tax Research Institute, who have been great partners for us to pull these numbers and identifying how much oil and gas production is contributing across our state. And also, if there are numbers that we're not providing, we'd love to hear from you all, because I'm sure that there's research that we're not getting that might be important to you all in your community that you'd like to see. And so one thing that we're trying to do is that we're trying to expand, what other funding mechanisms have come into the county outside of public education and higher ed and capital outlay. So if there are other areas of funding that you're interested in, please feel free to share that with us, because we're always looking to grow the numbers that we can share with you all to use as data points. And just the last couple of slides. So I always tell everyone I have the fun job at NMOGA because I do community engagement, and with that, that's giving back to our communities. I am proud to say that we have given $200,000 annually to local nonprofits here in the Four Corners area and across our entire state. Since 2019, we've given nearly $1 million to nonprofits doing great work in educational programming like literacy, which is important, STEM education and STEAM education, financial literacy, workforce development. We are working on revamping our grant making process. We want to have a bigger impact, and so we're working with our partners at the American Petroleum Institute to start doing higher level of funding, because we know traditionally NMOGA has given $5,000, $10,000. For many of you who have worked in the nonprofit space or know someone that works in the nonprofit space, $5,000 and $10,000 can go really quickly. And for a lot of those nonprofits, they're precious resources, they're financial resources. And so NMOGA wants to do something larger, and so we're working on that right now. So if there are any nonprofits in this community that you all know of that are working to enhance education, hunger and poverty, healthcare, please let them know about our Brighter Future Fund, because we'd love to have them as applicants and support the great work that they're doing in our communities. Again, our Brighter Future Fund, focusing on STEM. And one thing, as a former educator, I know our industry is committed to STEM, but conversations that I've had with our industry is said, I love our investment in STEM, but we need to invest more in literacy, because if kids can't read, they can't do STEM. And that's just the reality. So we really need to emphasize that, we are supporting literacy programs, because that is really what's going to help our students get into STEM programs, but also get into the fields that our industry needs, but also other industries need as well. And so I'm really big, and that's the teacher in me, because I'll tell you, when I inherited my first 12th grade class, when I became a teacher, my 12th grade students were reading at a 6th grade level. 6th grade level. And I knew in that moment that I could not make up for the loss of reading and comprehension and just their overall education success. I couldn't make up for that in 1 year. And these were the students that we were sending out into the workforce that our industry has to hire. Many of them didn't know what direct deposit was. They didn't know how to write a check or deposit a check to go to a bank. And so I'd like to have these conversations with folks, because our industry wants folks that are ready to go. We want to make sure that our education pipeline is serving all our needs in our community. But that was the moment, I grew up I'm an Army brat. As many of you know, a lot of people think that people in the military make a lot of money. They don't. And my mom and dad made a lot of sacrifices for me to be the first in our family to go to college. But it wasn't until I became an educator that I realized that I was really privileged, and I did not realize it. But seeing a lot of the students that I served not having support at home, not having food on the table, this is why I get to enjoy my job at NMOGA, is investing in our nonprofits that take on a lot of this work to support our students, to support our families across the state. So big thank you to anyone in here who does that work. You are appreciated. This video is one of our partners that we've partnered with Serenum Inc., they're out of Albuquerque, but they've done great work to support adult literacy and family literacy and education, and they've also worked on homeless initiatives to help parents get on their feet and back into the workforce and get their GED, help them get into certificate programs, so that way we have a prosperous ecosystem. And so I'm going to play this video for you.
This is bed. She's never had a bed.
She has a brand new bed. Brand new bed. Serenum is a unique 2-year housing and education program where we provide everything a family needs to live for free for up to 2 years while they increase their education and thus increasing their employability skills. We also provide life skills training that sustain and maintain the changes that they're making through their vocational and academic training.
It's all yours. And his.
One of the fastest growing groups of people experiencing homelessness are families. At Serenum, we not only address this, but ending it is our mission. Many years ago, we were tasked to end homelessness and poverty in families. One of the most successful approaches for doing this is a 2-generational approach. This means helping both the parents and the children together as families. Housing is, of course, the first step to helping someone exit homelessness. But at Serenum, we also combine that with education, life skills, and living together in a community where folks feel safe and loved. This is especially important because everyone coming into Serenum has experienced trauma. The adults have, and the children have. When I talk to families, they tell me how wonderful it is to have new friends. In the evenings, they sit together on their porches, visiting, kids playing, enjoying and learning from one another. For many, this is the first time they feel safe, supported, and secure.
The housing, the school, there's not enough things I could say about Serenum and what an opportunity it is for so many people and how much better it's just growing and doing so much more for so many people. It's amazing.
That community aspect is woven throughout everything in our program. Our families come into the program as a peer group and move through together, thus setting up relationships in the classroom, in an apartment complex, with their children, their friends, their neighbors. We work through conflict together. We learn how to live in community. And they are reconnected back into the larger community of Albuquerque through volunteerism themselves, as well as the volunteers that give to Serenum.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you, your little baby.
Tremendous work that Serenum does. Tracy Weaver has become a great friend of NMOGA. We recognized her last year at our annual conference that we hold in October, just celebrating the great work and partnership that we've created with Serenum. Because of our support, Serenum and Tracy Weaver just won the Jennifer Reardon Women of Influence Award. So she's doing tremendous work. With that tremendous work, they're now able to open a second campus, so helping more families. And so NMOGA is looking forward to working with her. I know her big vision is to even get outside of Albuquerque to our more rural communities to provide these services and opportunities. I chatted with Tracy a couple weeks ago, and she informed me that one of the families that we first supported through our Brighter Future Fund 2 years ago has now completed, and she's she attained her bachelor's degree in accounting, and she's now finishing her certification as a CPA and working to close on her first home for her family. So that hand up has been significant, and that's the prosperity that this industry is proud to support. And so just want to acknowledge the great work that they're doing. And so that's some great return on investment there that we're seeing from our communities. One thing that we get to also do at NMOGA is we get to sponsor our New Mexico Teacher of the Year. This year, Dr. Roy Bassa out of Zuni, New Mexico, was awarded the prestigious honor. Roy recently attended Washington Week, where he gets to meet officials. He gets to meet the Secretary of Education, and he also gets to meet the President and First Lady through that. And so our $10,000 sponsorship supports professional development for our New Mexico Teacher of the Year. And so we also provide them a podcast platform. One thing that we've been able to do is have conversations with the Teacher of the Year about energy production and the energy landscape in New Mexico, which is great because that means that we're getting to their network of teachers to understand the conversations that, oil and gas is much bigger than just oil and gas production. Here are the ways that it contributes to everyday life for everyone across our state and across our country. And so we've seen great return. Secretary Romero, the Public Education Department, has become a great partner with us. He's one of the first secretaries as of late to really thank the oil and gas industry, which has been terrific. And he has not been afraid to say it in a room like this or in a room where, hey, maybe it's a non-production area, maybe there's not as much support, but he will say, I can't do my job as public education secretary and I cannot support our schools without the funding that's coming in to support our public education system from oil and natural gas. And so it's been pleasant to work with him. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and NMOGA will be releasing a video later this afternoon that has Secretary Romero speaking on it and some of our former Teachers of the Year. So if you follow NMOGA, I look forward to you all seeing that video. Our marketing manager, David Del Maro, has created some great video content there, and so we're excited to celebrate our teachers and our entire educational workforce. And again, we couldn't do this work without partners. We have one of our partners in here, Jim Winchester from the Independent Petroleum Association. Thank you, Jim, for your continued support and partnership. We also partner with local state and chambers like the Four Corners Economic Development Corp, who has us here today. So thank you all. Thank you to the Farmington Chamber, in which we're part of as well. I believe Jamie's back there. I saw her last night, didn't get a chance to chat, but thank you, Jamie, for allowing us to engage with your folks as well. Nationally, we partner with the American Petroleum Institute, IPAA, and American Exploration of Production Council. Legislative and regulatory issues. Here's a few of the items that we have monitored and we are continuing to have conversations on. During the 2024 legislative session, we were focusing on clean transportation fuel standards, stripper well exemption, and oil and gas act reform. These are some issues that we're expecting to see again in the 60-day. Ashley Wagner, who's our VP of Government Affairs, is a tremendous asset. So if you all have questions as deeper into the regulatory and policy issues, I would love to connect you with her. NMOGA is continuing to have conversations with our partners, but also our regulators as well at the State Land Office, the New Mexico Environment Department, and continuing those conversations. One thing that we're looking out for in 2024 and beyond is setbacks. That's something that's been heavily discussed, conservation fund and strategic water supply. Our president and CEO, Missy Courier, recently ran an op-ed on water reuse and why it's important that we study this issue. And as industry, we support it because if, as you know, water is scarce in New Mexico, and if we can really invest and find ways to take the produced water that's coming from our oil and natural gas production and recycle it to be able to be used for agricultural purposes, that would be terrific for New Mexico. And that would, really take away, from losing our fresh water supply. We lose a lot of our water to Texas, unfortunately. And so this is a great idea to continue investing and having a conversation on how we can protect our water resources in New Mexico. Some other regulatory issues that we are monitoring and having conversations on are PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, of course, water reuse, and the transportation fuel standard. And it's an election year, and so one thing that I've always said is elections have consequences, and researching the issues and having conversations with your leaders is important in your decision making at the ballot box. And so through NMOGA, we just encourage you all to If there are questions that we can answer, or if we can connect you with our experts in our industry to have conversations, we'd love to do so, because in an election year, it is important to get out and vote, but it's also important to look at the issues that are at hand, and who are the folks defending the industry, protecting the industry, but also holding the industry accountable, because the industry does want to be held accountable, and we want to make sure that we're doing the best that we possibly can. And I will tell you that one thing that we are proud of in New Mexico is that our oil and natural gas production is the cleanest in the country. It is the best in the country, because our industry works under the most stringent regulations in our United States, and we are producing the cleanest barrel of oil and natural gas. So I just want to assure you all of that, and I just want to encourage you, go out and vote. It is our civic duty, and that's me as a former civics teacher speaking, and so I'm sorry if I'm getting my teacher voice on, but it is important. So with that, I believe that wraps up our presentation, and I just want to thank you, and if there are any questions that I may be able to answer, I'm happy to field any questions.
You said we got back $104 million, I believe, from the state. How much did we give to the state? Do you have that figure?
We don't have that figure. That's a great question. So it would be great to find out how much the county actually delivered through the taxes. So that's an important note that I'll make. Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot more.
That money back, does that include the federal money that comes here for
No.
taking royalties on federal land?
No, that's all just state funding.
You know if there's any geologic CO2 storage projects in New Mexico?
I know there's exploration of it right now. I know recently, right outside of Albuquerque in Sandoval County, there was a proposal to develop storage for carbon capture, and it was denied by the county commission. And so I know there are those conversations happening. Our member companies are investing in carbon capture and utilization storage as well. And so, but right now, outside of the one outside of Sandoval County, I'm not certain of any others.
So is it a permitting issue?
Typically, yeah. So ultimately, you have to receive approval from the county, or potentially the city. And unfortunately, in the Sandoval, Albuquerque area, there's a lot of opposition to the industry, and a lot of opposition to carbon capture storage.
It seems like that's where science should really sing. Oil and gas companies are the best people to know about what the rock is downhole. They spend millions of dollars understanding that, and yet we still can't make things move like that. So it's pretty frustrating.
Absolutely. And, I tell people that our industry are tremendous environmental stewards. We pride ourselves on environmental stewardship. I know our member companies, they live in these communities, so they care about clean water, clean air, and they're investing in those technologies to make sure that it is done safe and responsibly. And so, again, I think it's opportunities like this to engage and educate the public, especially in non-production areas where maybe they don't understand the oil and natural gas industry. And so, one thing that we are working on is to continue to get out into our communities and look for opportunities to speak to just regular folks.
Hi, Abe. And for those who don't know me, my name is Jim Winchester, Executive Director of Independent Petroleum Association. I just want to publicly thank you and NMOGA for coming up here to this area of the state. I think a lot of times we see a lot of attention paid to the Permian Basin, but the tradition and the work that's being done here right now is absolutely incredible. I also want to reemphasize something that Abe said. The partnership that exists right now between Independent Petroleum Association and NMOGA is stronger than ever. And it's absolutely critical right now during this time period, because we see a lot of folks out there trying to push through legislation that has adverse impacts and effects not only on what's going on with the operators here, but to everyone throughout the course of the state. So I want to compliment you. I want to compliment your Executive Director, Missy Courier. It has been a tremendous 6 months in terms of what you guys have been able to accomplish, and just really glad to see you guys up here in the San Juan Basin. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. Appreciate your partnership as well. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I greatly appreciate it, Tim.
I want to thank Abe. I want to thank John Thompson as well for coming here today and sharing this with us. I also want to thank San Juan College for use of this this great facility here. The partnership we have with San Juan College and even the School of Energy is very, very strong to support this cluster, and it needs to be recognized. There are several things I want to go over with you, and I got a few reminders as well. But this is larger than just gas and oil as well. If you think about the industry we have here and even the manufacturing base we have, if you think about companies like Pesco and what they manufacture with water, clean water, with what they do on hydrogen, what they do for gas and oil, they're one of our largest manufacturers in this region, and they support this industry. And not just this industry, but they support new applications of technology that will give us water that you can rehab and use for different things. So John and the team from Pesco, I really want to recognize and say thank you for what you do as well. I was told to make certain that you fill out those evaluations, okay? That's incredibly important. And yes, I see that we're going to talk about we have an initiative, a broadband initiative here at Forsaid. And many people think of broadband when they can go home and they can stream, or they can watch a video, or they can sign on to Facebook. But it's much bigger than that and much broader than that. It is the new electricity. It is the new water. It is the new natural gas. You have to have this. It connects us to the world. And we at Forsaid are working on an initiative through a grant program to try to help to make certain that all corners of San Juan County have equal access and access to high-speed internet. We're having a summit, a broadband summit that's coming up on the 25th of June that's going to be held in half of this room and the other half on the other side as well here at the college. You have on your tables, you have a flyer about that. I would suggest that you sign up for that because there's going to be some great information, and it's really going to be a give and take type day for you to learn about where we are, where we're going, and the opportunities ahead of us. There's over 100 public sources of funding for broadband on the state and the federal level. But yet, how do we navigate that, and how do we make certain we have equal access, or we have access for everyone in this county, in this region, is incredibly difficult. That's the topic at hand for that. We also have the date of our annual meeting, which is a breakfast meeting, which is going to be held here July 10th. So mark that on your calendar. You're going to see something coming out very, very soon on that for as well. August 6th is the next quarterly breakfast meeting that we're going to have. Now, we're working on the topic of that. And on that evaluation, if you've got something that you would like to see, write it down. Give us a little input on that. These meetings are incredibly important. We want to bring you information. We want to gather together people, and we want to be the big tent where we can help build a stronger economy. If you haven't been to our website, check out our website. Check out the Four Corners Economic Development website. The amount of information that's there for a business, for a community leader, is substantial. And it's not a static site. It's a site that's updated time after time after time to put new information on it. And there will be a link to this presentation as well. So you're going to be able to see these presentations that make a difference if you happen to miss one of those things. You can sign up for our newsletter. We're also not in the business of just sending out things to you to fill your email box. But we're going to send you information. We're going to send you building blocks of the economy that you can use as a business to make you better and to have a better connection between us and you as well. If we haven't visited your business, let us know when we want to. I think we're approaching 40 businesses in 12 weeks that I've had the pleasure of sitting down and first off listening to about your opportunities and your challenges and what we can do to help serve you. So that's incredibly important. And finally, we need your ideas. We're here to help build a stronger economy. Certainly, gas and oil and this cluster is incredibly important. We're also here about building the pieces and parts that support it and the things that come next as well. We're going to be in an energy economy for a long, long time, and I think your video proves that point. but the application and what we can do and what we can manufacture with the parts and pieces from the energy economy is incredibly important. For said, since the last time I spoke to you, we've applied for a Department of Energy grant to explore what the building blocks of our economy could be and what competitive advantages we could bring to the table of taking things like natural gas, hydrogen, helium, CO2 to manufacture other things as well. So there's a vision on the table. There's an organization that's here to support you, and we're very, very happy that you joined us today. We look forward to the things that are to come and to seeing you 12 more weeks from now, and ideally 12 weeks from now. Representative Montoya just walked in the room. Nice to see you. 12 weeks from now, it's going to be wonderful, and I hope at that point I can hand off the new guy title to somebody else. So thank you for coming. Look forward to talking to each one of you. Fill out your evaluation, and we will see you again. Thank you.